What's up, good people? This your boy Artwork Geo coming to you with another video. Want to talk about this topic that I think we can all relate to. As you get older, you do lose friends. It's a reality. At the same time, you gain some friends, but the focus for this video is just about how you lose them. And we think that losing friends is our fault, and that's one of the things. Unless you're a bad person, unless you just don't deserve to have friends and you pushed them all away or you did some messed up stuff. Like, I'm not talking to them people. I'm talking about the people who have made progress in life or feel like they righteous people, solid, good individuals, and they just somehow lose friends that they might have had around them before. And part of this, sometimes you outgrow people. Depending on how you see life, they might not see it that way. A lot of times your progress might make them feel some type of way, and they distance themselves just based on the fact, like, oh man, this person think they better, or oh, they reminded me of how I need to step it up. So instead of being inspired, they get jealous, the ego kick in, and they start distancing themselves because misery like company, misery loves company. It wants to be around things that make them feel validated about some of the shortcomings they got in their life. So that's one of the perspectives that I think we all need to remember, is that losing friends doesn't always mean that it's something with you. Now, taking accountability, it could have been some things about you that somebody ahead of you might see and be like, oh, you kind of slowing them down. So personally, I would look at that as motivation. Like, if I see somebody doing good and then they little by little distance themselves from me, then that inspires me to go harder in life. But never to be a jealous person and see them and be like, oh, they think they better than me. Nah, it's just everybody has the right to decide how they spend their 24 hours in a day. And so if you don't fit in their 24 hours, you can't be mad at that. There's things that I used to have time for. I just don't have time for it. We used to more so want to fit in the younger we were. But as you grow up and you realize you got certain things that just really matter more than others, and to allow people and things to have your time, which is the most valuable asset on the planet, is your time and how you spend it, you realize you can do better by yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's a cliche term. We didn't all heard that. I can do bad all by myself, or I can do, whatever by myself. Like, that whole concept is a true statement, when it comes to your own energy, wherever you at with things, having your own opinions towards things, and just sitting with your own thoughts and ideas is a phenomenal experience. Like, to not have to answer to somebody or sway your opinion based on trying to keep things politically correct around your friends and people you hang out with, like, that can be exhausting. But when you take time to really get to know you, you start realizing what do you have space for and what you don't. Another thing is just like putting a puzzle together. The puzzle is about seeing that big picture. Sometimes them puzzle pieces that we force to try to fit, we realize they just don't fit in the bigger picture. You get what I'm saying? So you might learn something from that situation. You might learn to be a better person. And sometimes that's what these paths are meant for. You cross paths with people to learn and pick up knowledge, you know what I'm saying, as you go on your own journey. And at some point you hit a fork in the road. It becomes a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to make this left because over here is where I need to be for the things that speak to me and my family and the betterment of who I am as a person. And I understand if you got to go right, because we can't continue to go down the same path and fulfill our individual purposes. That's all this is. It's the same thing with relationships, friendships, a job, anything. It could be family. You know what I mean? It don't make them not your family. It don't make this person that you consider a friend not a friend. I'll be honest with you. So losing friends, it don't necessarily mean losing that title, but it does mean losing the connection that y'all might have had where you just hung out and talked on a regular basis. That stuff, it fades with time. And I know when you in it and you younger having that experience, you think like, man, I couldn't do this without my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Like, that whole idea. But I can assure you, when you really tap into who you are and what speaks to you, it's impossible for everybody around you to be a part of that and to understand it to the T and like really rock with you on them thoughts and them ideas. Like, not everybody sees life the same way. And you can tolerate people and try your best to keep them around just because you used to that comfort zone. But at the same time, are you really maximizing who you are as a person? And then you might be holding them back. You know what I mean? It's things that they need to find out and discover about themselves, but them just trying to entertain something that don't speak to them anymore. You know what I'm saying? People got to really like have these uncomfortable conversations. And even if it just naturally happens where you start getting less calls from certain people, you stop calling them people. And over time you look up and you like, man, I ain't heard from so and so in a while. Like, it's going to be more and more of that. You know, as you continue to move forward and keep pushing, it's going to be more of them situations where not everybody is going to be around that you might have had around just a week ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, my phone used to have thousand some numbers. I'm not lying. I used to be a party promoter in my 20s. You know, I'm in the music scene in LA. You know, just think about it, coming up in my 20s and, you know, just having these connections and different people. Like, I had a lot of numbers in my phone. But as time went on, I realized, like, man, I don't really dial these numbers as much as I used to. I don't text as many people as I used to. Like, the other day, I just randomly scrolled through my phone and I remember swiping up a long time before I got to the Z's. But now it's like I swipe one good time, and if it's like Price is Right. You know, you roll the wheel and it just kind of keep going, and then eventually it slow down and slow down, like Wheel of Fortune. You know what I'm saying? It just slow down, then it finally land on something. Man, that one little good stroke from A to Z in one little stroke, man. And it's like, I'm lucky if I got 50 numbers in my phone, if that now, you know, and I'm okay with it because I understand what that represents for me. You know, having that less is more mentality is what speaks to me. So if you somebody that I just stopped talking to, like I always tell people, you know, I might not hear from you and you might not hear from me, but that don't mean we not cool. There's a difference. If you end on bad terms with people, you know that. And you know, if you did something, if you self-aware, if you hold yourself accountable, you know if it was you or if it was them. Or you know if it's just, hey, I'm consumed in the things I got to take care of. You got your things you got going. No love lost. Hey, it's a mutual understanding. But there's different dynamics, different layers to it. And like I said, I'm speaking to the ones who are really out here pushing. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it's never too late to make a change, to see a push in life. You just got to make that decision and cut that light switch on. So, you know, I'm doing this content for those who realize, like, man, you know what? I got to pour more into myself. You know, it's like a well. You know, you people drink from the well, right? You know, it's supposed to give you water, but then who puts water back into that well? And what you got to realize is after a certain amount of time, that well runs dry if nobody's replenishing it with more water. So you might be around people that's just drinking from the well and not pouring back into it. When people don't pour back into it, sometimes you got to be the one to pour back into it. And so if they get mad at you because you pouring back into your well, that's on them. You know, and that might be the reason that some relationships, you know, end or people not cool no more because of them type of situations. But you got to put yourself first. If you really speaking to your big picture and trying to get yourself to a place where you know you deserve it and you meant to be, you know what I'm saying? And not everybody can keep up with that. So I think that, you know, kind of like wraps up what I wanted to say in terms of a point, you know, based on this topic. And, you know, for anybody, man, that's out here and they realize, man, my phone don't ring as much as it used to. Man, I don't, you know, get hit up by the group as much as I used to. Like, you don't need that. Like, I see people having these group texts and these group chats and all that. That's cool. The concept of it is cool. I get it. But it's not necessary. And it doesn't validate you as a person. You still who you are, with or without a text group, a friend group, being invited places. Like, I don't remember last time somebody hit me to invite me somewhere, because I think people kind of know now, like, he ain't gonna go. He a homebody. You know, I'll be sitting with my thoughts. I'm an artist, man. I'm chilling. I'm trying to work on my credit. You know, I might record a song. I might do some art, you know, to make some bread off of that. I'm just not really focused on appeasing people and, you know, being distracted from my own, you know, ideas and what I got, you know, on my plate. So if you found any value in what I'm talking about, you know, I definitely appreciate you tapping in. Like, comment, subscribe, of course. I know y'all hear that every video. They want you to like, they want you to comment, they want you to subscribe. But I can honestly tell you, I'm building a community here where I wanted just quality folks in terms of people who get it, who really understand this message. I'm just trying to encourage the grown folks, man. I just really want us to have something that we can reference and, remember that it ain't too late, man, to apply this fresh paint, y'all. So another episode of Painted Fresh Daily, and I will holler at y'all, man, in the next one. It's work.